In this week's Mario's Pipeline, we take your viewer mail. Hey everyone, welcome to the Pipeline. I'm your host, JewWario. Let's get started, shall we? Now, in last week's Top 5 in 5, I asked at the very end of the video for you to send in that video games that you liked from this past year. So let's go over what you had to say. Steveman replied, "This is going to sound cheesy and corny, but the games I've had the most fun with this year were the DS remakes of Dragon Quest IV and V. In the old Dragon Quest Dragon Warrior vs. Final Fantasy fandom battle, say that 3 times fast, I used to be on the Final Fantasy side. But in the last few years, I've been more and more drawn to the old school feel that Dragon Quest games cultivate. My wife is absolutely loving Henry Hatsworth and Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. Alright, another married game couple. You get the Mario Pipeline salute. We'll work on this salute. You know, I have to agree, Steveman. I used to be a Final Fantasy fanboy, and Dragon Quest kind of came on the sidelines. But I've been thoroughly unimpressed since number X2 of Final Fantasy. I actually liked 10 quite a bit. It was something that was pretty special to me. But ever since X2, they've just been going downhill. Sure, the graphics are really nice, sure they're kind of spectacular looking, but the storyline and it being very lateral, not being able to verge off in other directions like you were from the very first Final Fantasy, that really has been putting a sour taste in my mouth. So I have to agree that Final Fantasy hasn't been doing so well, and I'm very excited to hear that Nintendo is really wanting to bring out Dragon Quest IX to the populace here in America, because that's that was something that I was scared that Square Enix wasn't going to do. Henry Hatsworth, I haven't tried that. Spirit Tracks, great game, but I'll go over my opinions later on. But yeah, Zelda, big Zelda fan. Neo Swordmaster writes, well, first I have to say Persona 4. Some of the best characters, writing, and voice acting in an RPG that I've played recently. Not to mention the superb soundtrack and solid gameplay. Persona 4, haven't played it, but I'm only starting the Persona series. I just got Persona... I only just got Persona Shin Megami Tensei for the PSP just recently. So, yes, I've been loving the soundtrack. The soundtrack is absolutely awesome, and you're enjoying the soundtrack right now. Good soundtrack. Spazmaster has to say, I've recently started to play Ghostbusters again, and even though I liked it in my first run-through, I grew to love it during my revisit. I'm going to assume that he's talking about the new Ghostbusters game, not the NES one that so many people had problems with. Another game I enjoyed, Guitar Hero Metallica. Oh my f***ing god, this finally gave me a chance to play all my favorite Metallica tracks. One I've been waiting for ever since the first. Aside from those, Street Fighter IV was good, a bit overrated if you ask me. DJ Hero wasn't all that bad, Punch-Out was okay, the Beatles Rock Band was fantastic, and Mario vs. Donkey Kong Minis March Again was a piece of crap. I have to agree, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, the Minis, has just not been one of my favorite series. I play through about 5 or 6 levels, and then it just doesn't hold my interest. I don't know why, because I really like puzzle games. I'm a big puzzle gamer, but I just haven't been impressed with those. Street Fighter IV, I agree with. I don't play a lot of fighters because I suck at them. And when you suck, you don't want to play them. But my friend Razma kind of agrees. He wasn't too impressed with Street Fighter IV. He's more impressed with the remake that they're coming out with more characters, a tighter fighting style, and so we'll see what those go at. We'll see how that goes. Paranormal Rob says, for the Wii there was Punch-Out and New Super Mario Bros. Coming in at the last minute. For the 360 there was Ghostbusters, Brutal Legend, and my pick for the best game of the year, Batman Arkham Asylum. Landon Light says, my favorite game of the year by far, Uncharted 2. No ifs, ands, or buts there. I'm looking forward to White Knight Chronicles for the PS3. I've been waiting almost 2 years for it to come out to the States. And of course, Final Fantasy 13. I haven't lost faith in the Final Fantasy yet. Turkish Proverb said, Ghostbusters 360. Fun, intuitive, and really feels like a third Ghostbusters film. The humor feels light, the resurrected monsters are justified. About the only weakness is the save system. Batman Arkham Asylum. Dark, brooding, a good Batman game for all its little oddities. The guard behavior is nicely affected by fear, something sorely lacking in most Batman games. This is one that really captures the mind-warping feel of Arkham for an old-school comic fan. Ghostbusters Wii. This may feel like cheating, but the co-op mode in this game is fantastic and earns its own place on the list. The stylized character designs work here, even if not as appropriate as the realistic look for a sequel to the movies. SD Gundam G Generation Cross Drive for DS. An interesting little update to the classic SD Gundam strategy franchise. This entry attempts to deal with syncing various upgrades, powers, and pilots to mobile suits, as well as these chosen units being grouped into custom-made squads. All in all, a fun game. Aversion, a wonderfully disturbing little retro game. Feels like something you've played 1,000 times and then starts to get odd on you. You know, I haven't played any of those games, but the way that you describe them, it sounds really interesting. I might just pick up that SD Gundam as I'm a pretty old school Gundam fan. Going on, Pokitsune says, well, my number one choice would have to go to Batman Arkham Asylum. I got my PS3 just in time for this game, and ever since I played the demo, I've been loving this. The feel of the place and the feel of the characters themselves are simply superb. The controls for fighting and sneaking around have made it lots of fun, and everything came together for an experience I'll never ever forget. That's a lot to say about a game, to have such high regards for something, and to have a game really put that effect on you that you'll never forget something like that. Final Fantasy, the NES cartridge is like that for me. It's something I'll really never forget. Second would have to go to Assassin's Creed 2. No, I'm not a stalker, but maybe it's the feel of going around unnoticed, trying to avoid detection while trying to get to your target or goal that attracts me. With bright characters and an ongoing mystery, I just needed to get further and further into it. Sure, it has its flaws and could have used a bit more touches at times, but I still really enjoyed the game. You know, I have the exact same feeling for the Tenchu games, even though I'm not a fan of all the games. The idea of sneaking around and not being noticed and trying not to be noticed and trying to make hidden attacks and assassinations and just not being seen. It's such a great concept for a game, and I'm really glad that you like the Assassin's Creed 2. The Bunny's Honey writes, haven't really played any new games. Instead, I've been rediscovering Super Mario on the Game Boy and playing NES Mario for the first time ever. Also Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2 and Contra 2. I'm glad that somebody's finally going back and instead of playing new games of 2009, rediscovering old retro games. And that's why I'm a retro gamer. I just really like to feel what these games used to be like, to see how they started a series, and that's why I highly suggest going back to the NES Virtual Console and picking up Final Fantasy. Sure, you can't pick up a lot of the NES games if you don't have the consoles, but that's what the Virtual Console is all about. And rediscovering wonderful games like Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2 and Contra 2, it's fantastic, and I really commend you on that. Falco vs. Leon 20 says, Punch Out, Excite Bots, Mario and Luigi, Bowser's Inside Story, Mad World, and Muramasa the Demon Blade. Putting Muramasa at the very top, that's pretty exceptional. That makes me really excited to try out this game. Also, some of you noted that there aren't just 3 characters coming out for Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. There's actually 5. So thanks to Sonic 505, Okami-kun, and Shin Razma for pointing that out. Shin Razma even writes, slight correction on this video. There are 5 characters in the US version of Tatsunoko vs. Capcom that aren't in the Japanese version. Joe the Condor, Tekkaman Blade, Yatterman No. 2, Frank West, and Zero from Mega Man X. So thanks for catching that, guys. I was just so excited for Frank West, Joe, and Zero that I completely forgot about Yatterman Blade 2 and Tekkaman Blade, so thanks for pointing those out. Finally, let's look at what others of you had to say, not based off the question that I posted. Hey JewWario, how are you playing Nintendo Wii imports? On a Nintendo Wii that's imported. Funky M writes, yeah, he wrote that. I'm not really excited for anything myself. Sorry, I just had to do that. I didn't mean to bust your balls there, man. I just had Lego Indy 2 for Christmas, so I'll be tied up with that for a bit. Wow, did I all of a sudden get into an Irish accent there? The me self really threw me off. And I'm still a WoW head, so I've got commitments there. A WoW head? I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm just slightly unnerved by Muscle March, though. Not all of Japanese culture is worth importing. That's a great phrase. I love that. I completely agree. And that is why several games never came out here, and shouldn't. UM and SF writes, I'd also look forward to a possibility of confronting you on Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, as I'm not really good at fighters. Let us match our noobish skills. No offense. No offense, I suck at fighting games. I really do. S-U-C-K, suck. I suck at fighting games. So, yes, I'd be more than happy to. I'll put out my friend code when I get Tatsunoko vs. Capcom for the American game, and I'll take challengers, because you'll kick my ass, and it'll be fun. Or maybe I'll kick your ass. Once again, Tatsunoko vs. Capcom is very friendly for beginners who are really not fighting gamers. So that's your emails to me. Thanks a lot for writing to me, and when I have another question, send me more emails and we'll have another viewer mail day. Send me some video comments. I would have liked to have done some video comments, but nobody sent any in. Don't worry if it's a webcam. Don't worry if you aren't very good on screen. Just send them to me and we'll get these on the air. And thanks so much to Little Miss Gamer and PBC Productions for a great t-shirt. As soon as I saw that you were having t-shirts out, I ordered mine that hour. So please, guys, go out, buy the t-shirt, support PBC and Little Miss Gamer, and we shall see you next week on Mario's Pipeline.